Hi guys, Acesup here. Tail end, well, not really tail end of the session. Bit of ouch there in the bottom left. And haven't really won any all-ins today, so it's perhaps there's they're building up, and there's going to be a crazy run waiting for it. Got the aces here, and it's a pretty good spot. Got fish involved here. He's probably going to have pretty elastic if he's range here, I think. Relatively, I think if he's got a pair above the 5 or a king, he's probably going to call one bet. I'm just going to go ahead and start building and just hope. The other option is just check if we think he's capable of just spewing, but he does have a high seed betting frequency, but not a high barreling frequency, so I think I'll just try to exploit him the traditional way by value betting him and just try to sort of bet big on the flop. It could be a mistake, maybe betting smaller is better, but I just think play like that, if he has got any pair, then he's not folding, and if he's got a king, he's not going to fold 2-3 big barrels, so might as well start building the pot right from the get-go. So we've got a big stack top right there. It's only the big 11 though, which is relatively small tourney. And just bring another. What are we going to bring in? I think it was a turbo 456. I think it was a turbo somewhere before. What are we going to do here? I think I will raise this guy. Oh, I didn't mean to make it quite that big. That's slightly, well, I mean, it's not too big actually. It's not that bad. No, it's actually not that bad. He's pretty loose. He doesn't fold to a lot of 3-bets, but he does fold to C-bets a lot. And so if he's playing a little bit fit or fold post, I think that there's some merit to this 3-bet. Yeah, well, it's pretty close. I mean, we look pretty strong. We've got an ace blocker. He's going ahead and 4-bet it. I don't know if he's going to do that in the bluff in this spot. I mean, he has got 5 stars showing, so I mean, it's not impossible. He has been 4-betting a ton after raising. 15. It's actually not a bad spot if he's thinking at a pretty deep level to make this play. If he knows, how I play, especially. So I think it'd be kind of close. But I think I'm going to fold. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know what he had there, but I mean, probably just a value hand, but you never know. If he's thinking at a deeper level, he might anticipate us attacking there with a pretty wide range like we had, and therefore 4-bet back small. We're pretty polarized, so he doesn't have to bet much. We've either got a monster, like, queens or something, ace-king suited, or we have absolutely, well, not trash, but just something that we're folding to a re-raise. So I like his 4-bet re-click, because he gets to find out which it is. And unfortunately that time, it was the trash. What am I going to bring in here? Probably this. Just bring in the phase 1 maybe. So I just call with the ace queen here. I don't normally, but I just mix this in from time to time. The big blind's pretty short, and if he jams, I'm pretty sure this guy's always going to isolate with anything semi-decent, and then we get to spring the trap. But the big blind just came along for the ride. It's kind of annoying, but not too surprising. And the other thing is too, I mean, we have a pretty well disguised hand. We keep the button in with lots of Queen X and Ace X that we crush. So, you know, it's pretty... I mean, normally I would just do the standard thing and 3-bet it. But I don't mind mixing in a call from time to time like this, especially when we've got this sort of short-stacked big blind who can jam and entice the initial opener to isolate with a very wide range. I mean, we're just flatting from small blind, so the button player here in this instance, I mean, if he's a thinking reg, I mean, it's not impossible that he sort of, you know, sorry guys, hang on. It's not impossible that he kind of figures it out. Not that he figures it out, but just has a little, you know, his spider senses tingling. But I mean, it's still going to jam a lot of hands like Ace 10, King Queen, Pocket 3s, maybe even like an Ace 5 suited. They're just probably going to isolate. Just because the short stack in the big blind is going to be jamming pretty wide. And they're getting good pot odds. And they certainly don't expect us to have a hand like this. Probably more likely to anticipate us having a hand like 10 Jack suited, King Jack off, something like that. So now I'm just going to fold. That's the annoying part about it all. Is when you whiff the flop and have to fold to a bet. The other option was raising. I mean, we could have raised it because we still had the best hand sometime. And he could just be betting and committing to the big blind. I mean, there's nothing wrong there with doing that. Because the big blind, even if he's got a hand like we had, big blind is probably still going to have, the big blind's going to fold a lot, but if he does jam, you're still going to have pretty good equity against his likely range. So this $11 rebuy, I guess we've got a few chips as well. So this guy's 3-betting on the button 6%, 3-bet versus mid 5 or 6. He knows we open wide. He's probably a little bit. That sounds a bit tight for me. I mean, at this stage of the tournament, I imagine, and against Acesup, he'd be a little bit looser. So I mean, I can go either way here. Jamming, I think, is fine. I'm going to call this time, and I think a hand like King Jack suited, it plays well enough, even out of position. The position's not really that relevant because of the stacks, the SPR. You know, it's already under 2, which is going to be awkward for him. You imagine here the flop was, you know, Jack 8 2, and he's got Ace King or something, or pocket 9s. He's in a pretty tough spot if we check jam. And I think I'm going to give it up now. I would just jam that free lot, but just. Yeah, I mean, it's really close. Do like his flop bet a lot. Sorry about the yawning, guys. I just hit the wall. hit some sort of wall where I'm just yawning and yawning and yawning. And I mean, I am a bit tired, but that's what happens when you've been grinding for 7, 8, about 8.5 hours, I guess. Yeah, we haven't really had too much joy today. It's warm in here. M3, probably going to call that one M3 on the button. Yay. Just can't quite. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't quite get some run good going. Just teasing us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oof. I was going to jam it. I really was in two minds. I mean, this guy's 3x'd and he hasn't been loose. So, and he's kind of getting short, so I think he's going to call off a lot. That's how I felt anyway. So best case flipping. I mean, he will fold a bit. I might be overestimating his calling range there. He's pretty in late position, could be stealing. But, yeah, I mean, certainly wasn't a fist pump. But I was going to jam it, I mean. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty close spot. I think it's a bit closer than it looks. You've got to be careful just snap jamming there. I mean, he's not that loose. He has 3x'd. Yeah, he is just at that stack size where he's getting short enough where he's probably going to call off with a little bit of a wider range. Which isn't really so good when we hold sixes. Although he might he might have a few under pairs he might do that with. So that's always a bonus. And that's what kind of prompted me in the end to go for the jam, but I just sort of timed out, but you know, I wasn't too bothered by it because I was on the fence anyway. Sorry guys, got this cough going. You know, and being on the fence in that spot and folding is not a big deal because if you're really not too sure what to do, then I mean the chances are that it's pretty close to break even as a play, and you're not giving up much by folding. You may even be making the correct play and slightly miscalculated the situation. So I think 6, 12, 26, 3. Well, he's M6. He's a bit of a sort of fishy player though. Actually a student. Actually a student, this guy. But I don't know his game super well. Obviously Kings is nothing fishy about that. And I might have been a little bit harsh there. Just that some of the hands I've looked at lately for him are just pretty whack. Calling out of the small blind with 2-3 suited and check raising and barreling and well, check raising and barreling is fun stuff. Can't say too much bad stuff about that. Calling down light is what you're going to avoid out of position. I actually just watched a hand with Daniel Coleman. Triple barreled with 8-10 on an ace-5-5 flop. Defended the blind and check raised the flop. Against Jungle Man. It's a pretty interesting hand actually. This is the one here. It's Coleman calls, and let's see this. I think I'm just going to fold here. Well, it's close, but he bet into a few players. It's kind of short. But players, I think, will oversee bet there. Just even with multiple players in. And so anyway, Coleman is going to check raise. And just look to completely own Jungle Man again. 3-1 is 4. It's a bit thin. Sweetie isolates here with, well, he's got queens again. He's waking up with some hands. So Coleman has check raised the ace 5-5 flop against the UTG Open. And it's just such a dry board, static board, and obviously just purely repping a 5 and saying, well, I think you've raised early, you can have an ace, and I think you can have ace, king, ace, queen, so I'm just going to go for max value. And it's just a pretty crazy, just a very strong bluff. Jams the river. And Jungleman goes crazy about it. The thing about this this check raise on the flop, the beautiful thing about this hand, there's something I really like about this hand. The thing I really like about this hand is the fact that if your opponent has an ace, he is actually going to probably call flop and turn. So you actually get to, if you're pretty sure you can barrel him off it on the final street, it's just pretty crazy, you know, because you get to pick up so much dead money without a showdown, which is what it's all about. And he does eventually get Jungleman to fold. So, you know, I mean, it's very interesting, those sorts of, you know, situations where you can get a player to fold by barreling on the river, because you just create a nice big pot for yourself in a spot where others would have just folded. You can see Jungleman in pain before he folds. And then the Coleman, I don't think he shows it or anything, he just folds. You can see he enjoyed it immensely though. Messing with Jungleman, I should say. You can tell I'm going to be tired, can't you guys? It's just the energy that I had earlier has dropped, and hopefully it's not a sign that the focus has dropped. So I'll try to maintain and try to 4-5, try and stay on top of things here. Still do have 14 tables going. So plenty of action still to come. And yeah. The other stack we have is just in this 4-5. Raise that one again. Just in this turbo here. $16.50. Got a few chips in that. I think we are close to money. Yeah, it's money bubble now. I probably can't fold to this guy. 4-5. He's like an M6. He's a little bit loose. We're in late position. Kind of look like we're stealing. We're going to river an ace. Nope, not this time. Couldn't get there. That's okay. We'll build them up. We're just going to build up. Yeah, I mean, it's close, but I just think he's jamming all pairs. Probably a bunch of Broadway hands. 6. Some smaller aces that are suited especially. And therefore, Ace 9 is just a little bit too strong to fold there against that particular stack size from when we could be perceived as just stealing. And somehow we get a chop, which is I'll take it. I'll take the chop. I don't mind. I don't mind. It's better than losing. Could be a sign that we're moving up. Progressed. We've progressed up to chops. It's a sign of things to come. I think I'm just going to min the king 10. It's pretty close. If he jams on us, it's pretty gross. Probably going to have to call off. If he did jam it. Not a very good board. We could have just jammed this pre, you know, I mean, that's fine as well. He's pretty loose, so I thought he might call with some hands that we crush. Kind of thing. We got the ace king against the nines, and we're looking for the queen. Queen. Whoa! Hello, ace. This could be the one, guys. The big 162. This could be the one. I think we're going to win. Let's do something special. Let's win the big 162 and the big 11 in the same day. That would be pretty hardcore. I think it's safe to say that is never ever been done before, and may not be done for many years, because both are very difficult tournaments, and the big 11, well, I mean, it's just hard to win. It's got a gazillion players in it. That's kind of right on the ace-2. I mean, wow, there's 14. I think I will fold there just because I don't really know anything about the guy. I have no notes. Probably can't quite fold bottom left because of the pot odds with the 9 deuce. We're going to go 900 in chips. We're at 300 out there as a big blind. There's a ton of dead money, and we have one of the nut low hands, but but I just don't think we can fold. And there's pretty strong action as well, so. But I mean, even if they both folded, the 900 to call when there was 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, and that's 3, 4, 45, 9. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're just never going to find a fold there. It's never going to happen. I mean, even if he has a really tight range, we're not getting. I mean, even against overpairs, we're not getting that far off calling. So. Loose defend, top left, relatively deep, and got a little bit of history on this guy to help us. It doesn't see bet too relentlessly, so that's always a bonus. Probably going to call 1 here. It's a small bet. And I think it's okay to check. He might barrel. He does actually barrel a decent percent. It doesn't see about a ton, but does barrel when he does. Decent. Well, I mean, 50% of the time he does. I think I might check now. I think that checking is probably the best play, because if he's got a king, he's probably going to value. Even though he probably bets at turn, but he might just go for 2 streets. If he's hit the queen, you know, he might go for value. And if he's got a hand like Ace Jack or Ace 10, you know, he might think, hey, this guy looks like he's got an 8 or worse, 7s or something, or that sort of thing. Maybe I can get him to fold. It's a really interesting bet he's made here. It's a very big bet. I think I'm just going to call, because I thought he might have queens. So that's what happens when you call with 2-6 suited. You get punished. Yeah, I mean, it's a big bet on the river, and it's pretty polarizing when he bets that big, I think. It's kind of either saying I want to get max value with a monster, or I've got complete air and I'm trying to bluff you off. And I think he's betting that size in particular to try and make it look a bit bluffy. But at the same time, our hand is obviously really strong. My initial intention was to check raise river, obviously. But when he bet that big, it looked a lot to me like he might have queens. And that's why I just called. If he had a bet half pot, I would have check raised. Or if he had a bet smaller than that, I would have check raised. So it's kind of lucky in a way that he did do the big bet. What was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how often he calls if we check raise river with a hand. You know, like, if he just had the queen, he's probably going to fold, although he's going to be really curious about what the hell we've got, you know? Especially if he bets really small, like third pot or quarter, I mean, even smaller. If he bets like quarter pot for thin value and we make a pretty big raise, he might kind of think, okay, this guy goes and knows I'm valuing thin, and now he thinks he can fold me off of it, maybe. He might get a little bit too curious and a bit call happy. Maybe, but I'm not sure it's the case. And so, with that in mind, check raising, it might not actually capture enough of his calling range to, you know, the range of his range that we get calls from to make it that profitable when we no longer, based on his bet size, feel that confident that we have the best hand. I mean, I still thought I would a decent proportion, but I was pretty worried that he had queens, and at the same time, if we check raise, you know, there's just not a ton of hands that are probably going to call us, even though he might be a bit suspicious. So that's why I opted to make the call in the end. It turned out to be the right thing to do. But the 2-6 suited defend, very loose. It was a min-raise, blinds and antes in play, decent stack depth. And, you know, if it, being results orientated, if it hadn't have come the queen, you know, we may have got some good value on the river there, because I would have... well, I mean, I'm just thinking what I would have done on that river. I think I'm always going to check it. But, you know, if it was a brick and he might thin value bet with queens, we pick up a nice pot. So it can't really be helped, just a bad river. But, yeah, you do have to be careful defending hand with hands like that. Yeah, I mean, you really have to... That's getting a little bit ugly. You have to be pretty confident post-flop. And against an opponent that you think is not going to own you too bad. I wouldn't be calling that sort of hand against, you know, this JDTJ Poker or who else is hanging around that's good. This Doe Popo guy. Just looking around. You Betcha. Yeah, he's pretty solid. It's actually not that many good players around. A Jarov's on. You can see him. All the green, see these green circles are my good players. Red Pant, Red, You Betcha, Pipe Dream. Nice Life, $50 rebuy, so there's more solid players in there. Good players, I should say. Bia, good, strong Russian player. These guys I wouldn't defend that with, because most of the time, you know, it's just, they're not going to pay you off, as they're going to hand read a lot better. Even though your hand's so well disguised, I mean, they're just going to realise times when you're going for value or times you're bluffing a little bit more often than, you know, some of these other sort of less experienced guys. And so you've got to be careful against the better players. Getting too out of line. But, yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a risk. But sometimes in tournaments, you know, getting a little bit involved, trying to get yourself in a situation to pick up some chips is not necessarily a bad thing, because you ain't got that many hands to get some chips. So, anyway, that is the end of that chapter. And, well, you guys want to see what happens with the tens now, don't you? Can't leave you hanging. Can't leave you hanging. Let's see what happens with the tens here in this Turby. We're only M3.5, so I dare say that there's going to be chips flying. And 4K up top. I really haven't had any run good in these turbos. We should have these guys' ranges pretty crushed here. Hopefully Do Popo doesn't have an ace jack or something. Feels like he's got 8s or 7s. And it feels like Choxon's got king jack or something. Maybe worse. Wow. How does he have the kings there? I mean, I don't mind his play. Definitely when he flats, I thought it's possible that he's trapping, but I don't have any notes on him, so I just thought he was being a random fish. As you do. So, 35. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. But I don't think we're ever folding with the way the action went down. And it just wasn't to be. So we'll leave it there, guys, and bring you more action soon. Hopefully with the final table. It'd be nice to make a second one this session.